taking the time to speak with us today. For those of you who don't know, Dr. Anitha is one of our is a core cog in the Durva Life wheel. She is a part of our scientific collaboration team. She is the brains behind the formulations and all the amazing products that you see at Durva Life. And today, we're going to get a chance to really hear from an expert about uh, our two core products in our Divansri PCOS pack. The genesis behind those products, why Divansri Assist and Flow were formulated, how they were formulated, and specifically a little bit more about the clinical trials that Dr. Anitha actually ran to test the products for safety and efficacy. But before we jump into that, just a quick round of introductions. For everyone's benefit, I'm Aparna. I'm the founder of Durva Life. I've been a scientist by training, but then worked in healthcare for a bunch of years, and then now super excited to start the journey, bringing our amazing products to our consumers. Dr. Anitha, over to you. Would love to learn more about you and would love for you to share with our audience also your amazing expertise across science and Ayurveda.
My little project involved making an antisense mRNA which would bind to the RNA that secretes collagen, and thereby there will be no collagen secretion in a condition where liver faces some kind of injury or insult.
Wow.
So it was in this context that I met the doctors from Jammi.
Would love to kind of dive into a little bit about how you have worked with Durva Life to formulate some of our products, especially those of the Divansri PCOS pack.
Okay.
Could you talk a little bit more about that?
So if you actually look at the number of patients with PCOS, if you look at all the internet data, they'll say 1 in 4 or 1 in 5. But the truth is 1 out of 2 girls in the age group of 20 to 40 have PCOS. And this is because about 50 to 60% of the people who have PCOS don't even know they have PCOS. So when we started looking at these conditions, we thought, there must be something that we can do for them. See, one thing I can tell you is, as far as Ayurveda is concerned, there is a method to madness, irrespective of how people perceive this form of medicine. There is a solution for everything. Under these circumstances, we said, like, there's so many of these patients and we must come up with a solution for PCOS conditions. So there were 2 types of PCOS that we found, patients who had PCOS. One was like just cysts in the ovary and associated symptoms like they have difficulty losing weight, they have irregular periods or scanty periods. Then they have other symptoms like they get these patches on their skin, dark patches on their skin. They develop facial hair or body hair and things like that. And there was also another type where their periods were regular, but they had PCOS and all the other associated symptoms. So we realized that we had to come up with a different solution for each of this category. So that's how we came up with Divansri Assist and Divansri Flow. So the Divansri Assist is a herbal formulation which comes out in the form of a tablet or a capsule. And the flow is the one that comes, Divansri Flow is a syrup. So we started giving Divansri Assist to patients who had regular periods but still had PCOS. And Divansri Assist and Flow together to those who had irregular periods. And from the patients who came to our clinic, we found that they were showing really good response, their periods started becoming regular, they started losing weight better. I mean, they had to change their lifestyle for sure, but then it really helped them lose weight. These girls who were simply unable to shed any weight earlier, irrespective of what they tried, were starting to lose weight, and it kind of improved their confidence. They started feeling better about themselves. So it was like you could see a mental and physical change in these girls.
Got it. So that's an incredibly deep and thorough explanation of Assist and Flow, and I think a lot of the people listening, that will help provide really critical context. And I remember when you and I first had a conversation when we first met, Among the first things I remember us discussing was just the sheer number of women that have PCOS that go through years and years of treatment, therapies, hair removal processes, a lot of mental anguish, as you very correctly pointed out, before actually finding a solution that is able to sustainably fix their problem. And in many cases they don't actually find that solution at all, right? And so when we first discussed this, that was one of the things that you had mentioned, about the Devansri Assistant Flow being, kind of these amazing products where you've seen for women with PCOS with regular periods, PCOS without regular periods, and irregular menstruation, how your products have really changed their entire outlook on the condition and really focused on the root cause of the issue,
Yeah.
so that the changes that you saw were long term. I mean, you mentioned clinical trials in the context of Devansri and Assistant Flow, just to understand more about how these products work in the body to create the benefits that they do. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what clinical trials are?
So now there are a couple of reasons why clinical trials are done. One is when a new drug is formulated. But we did a clinical trial just to understand how this formulation works, because like I mentioned earlier, we had already given it to our patients and we knew that it works. But what
Right.
we needed to know was how it works. What is the pathway that it is interfering with, and why is the efficacy so